We are back on a weird day.
Yeah, Thursdays were let in by a wind hand, as it should be. Doing a Thursday, and we're going to be doing a Thursday again next week, frankly, because my dumb ass has a life of outside of just podcasting.
Actually, you know what, if you think about it, we're going to have a few Thursday podcasts coming up because, well, I'm going to Vegas on Wednesday, first week of July.
Yeah.
So that might actually be the ever so rare 4th of July well, actually, no, because I'll be sleeping till 11 o'clock. You might be doing that one solo, mono.
Yeah, well, or we just don't have one. I mean, either way, that's fine.
No, I'll call in, man. I'll call in from the fucking T-Mobile Arena. Got my tickets.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, it's June, July. Actually, you know what? All of summer might very well be weird on trying to post these on Fridays.
But we're going to do our best.
But we will try to get out some content to you good people once a week if we can.
Oh, before we start, I just thought of something funny. I listened to
I will judge you if it's not.
That's fine. I prefer to be judged because I hold a high bar for myself on humor, obviously. I listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Okay.
Whole lot of audiobooks. Currently, I'm listening to one I've listened to several times. It's the audiobook of The Green Mile by old Stephen King.
Right.
And there's a part where they're basically talking about Mississippi. Has nothing really to do. Wasn't in the movie. It's not very story important. But Dean, the ginger prison guard in The Green Mile, starts talking about how he hates Mississippi. And everyone's like, why do you hate Mississippi? And guys, well, don't you all know Mississippi is Indian for asshole? I don't know why, man. It just struck me as 20s. It's 20s fucking hilarity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had to check the internet to make sure that was true.
Is Mississippi really Native American for asshole?
I might have to learn some fucking Native American shit. It's great.
Yeah. All right. Hey, but we get together once a week, talk about some of our favorite issues of the day, such as Mead, Metal, and MMA podcast. I'm Kevin. That's Brandon, if you hadn't already figured that out.
And apologies to anybody listening from Mississippi. I don't really think you're an asshole.
I don't think we have to worry about that too much. I think they're a little technologically hampered, aren't they? Let's see.
Whoa, great. Now, if they did hate me, now they hate you.
See, I'm taking the heat off of you. That's what happens.
Appreciate it.
No. We do like to get together, though, and talk about, obviously, smack talk other states. The Mead update for the week, I can predict Runestone will probably be bottled within 2 weeks. I'm guessing. I think that's kind of where that one's at, which does mean we kind of need to get the Hoobaloo on for getting the Green Man started. I think we've talked about that several times.
Yeah. That is the next batch that's going to be coming down the pike. We're running low on our core shit.
I think we're down to like 9 bottles, I think, total.
Probably down to 8 or 7 by the time this day is over.
Well, yeah, we have one Long Ships, one Troublemaker, but those are kind of off the shelf for sale. So, yeah, about 8 bottles probably of the batch one. But so we kind of timed it out just about right.
Sure.
I mean, it works okay there. But so nonetheless, it is time to get together and talk about that. The Mead update, that's kind of it.
Right.
I mean, I hate to say it, but the Mead process is sometimes lively, sometimes not so much. We had it over to the Glass Carboy here a week ago today, so it's kind of just in that final phase of finishing before we go ahead and move on with that and get it bottled and out to the good supporters out there of our music. So, I mean, with that short little 3 minute discussion on Mead this week, probably time to go ahead and get into the discussion of what's going on in metal and this date and history and all that fun stuff.
Which really is probably going to dominate quite a bit because a lot of shit happened today. 13 years ago today, Slipknot put out their third album, which I was... the first album came out when I was still in high school. Hit me at the right fucking time.
Right.
It was... That first album is fucking heavy.
It's angry young man music is what it is.
And it's done by 9 dudes. So it's just amplified so much. And then they put out Iowa, which was heavier but more refined.
Yeah, it got more airplay.
Yeah, far more airplay. And even My Plague was on a Resident Evil soundtrack for the first or second movie, I think.
Right.
But another album came out 34 years ago today. Came out when I was 1. And that's Dio's Holy Diver, man.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, now since Dio passed away here years ago and all this stuff, he definitely gets a free pass. The history looks kindly on him.
It does. It looks kindly on you in death.
But before he passed away, though, you still had people saying, well, he basically stole fucking Blind from, from Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler, because he was writing his own stuff while he was the front man of Black Sabbath, not writing tunes for Black Sabbath at the time. Which is kind of
it's always great when you got a job and then you're already working on that next job.
Yeah,
while you're still getting paid by your old job.
Now in his defense, he'd said it's because really that nobody appreciated him the way that they did Ozzy. He couldn't have done anything right, no matter what. I don't know. There are still some Black Sabbath tunes I like that Ronnie James Dio sang. That I do find to be actually probably really elevated from what they were doing originally with Ozzy, but but not everything. I'm not, really right. The last one that they did before Ozzy left was really that one was really the bright spot for me. Because War Pigs was on that one,
right?
They had some of their best stuff under Ozzy on that one. So I don't know. But yeah, when you die though, then you generally, unless you murder a whole bunch of people or something like that, you're probably gonna be thought of kindly,
Yeah, absolutely. And in Dio's later years, like a lot of musicians, once they kind of hit a certain age or getting a little older, they start getting a lot more respect from people that probably never listened to him in the first place.
Right.
So even Tenacious D, like Jack Black, I think fucking really helped Dio kind of return to the limelight a little bit. He had a hand in it.
Right.
Not the only one, but he had a hand in it.
Well, limited as it might have been. But nonetheless, so, but yeah.
Rainbow in the Dark is probably one of my favorite Dio songs.
Right. Absolutely. But, but Holy Diver, that one was kind of really what defined, I think, his own career away from Black Sabbath.
Yeah. That was Killswitch Engage, fucking band that's been around probably about 14 years. Did a cover of Holy Diver. One of the rare times where I hear the cover, I'm like, fuck, that is either right on par or even maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, well.
And it was just an homage, a proper homage at that.
Sure.
But probably one of the better metal cover songs I've heard.
Speaking
Hello,
of homages,
Rye.
God, how I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Did I already talk about this last week? The aggravation of finding people trying to do tributes for Chris Cornell. I think I might have addressed it.
No, I think we were dealing more with the news than we were bitching about the response.
Yeah, because it is, and the response across spectrums. Now, here's the whole thing: is my day job happens to be I work in terrestrial radio.
I'm a prostitute, male prostitute.
Yeah, I'm sure you are in many ways, but so I'm having to deal with people not even close to the same format, covering Chris Cornell stuff, doing Soundgarden covers with all of their country glory. And you know why they're not doing rock and roll, because you can listen to the way that they're throwing out tributes. I have a problem with people doing tributes to somebody that is uncoverable.
Right.
Because if you try to cover stuff, you're going to sound like an asshole. You're going to sound like you're definitely you're not doing him any favors. You're the memory or the legacy of Chris Cornell by banging it out in your weird monotone twang, that you've got. It's not going to work.
It's not conducive for the source material at all.
I hadn't heard it, but you said Megadeth even covered one.
Megadeth covered Outshine, and musically, like Outshine is all right. Dave Mustaine singing Chris Cornell. Just digest that for a second.
Yeah.
Dave Mustaine can barely sing Dave Mustaine anymore. And this motherfucker is trying to sing some serious high register stuff with nuances that he just can't nail.
No.
I get the thought there. I'm sure the majority of them just fucking did it as an homage.
I would like to think so. It does have a problem. I don't know. The conspiracy theorist in me, I guess, always looks and goes, is this more of a look at me response? It's hard to discount that because, if you got somebody that passed away And people
Yeah.
are digging all over YouTube and shit trying to find that artist's songs, and then they're coming across, hey, this guy did a cover of it. It's hard for me to discount it.
Yeah, there's just not a whole. Soundgarden is one of those bands. Chris Cornell is one of those guys that he nailed it.
Right.
Covers, unless you're going to go the smart route and be like, okay, this is our band's style. Let's take this fucking song and just dredge it in our style.
Right.
Like
Which
if
I
Paul
think
Bear were to cover fucking any Stone Temple Pilots song, dude's got the range to do it. Maybe not live on a 30-city tour,
yeah.
but he could certainly poop out one.
But I think that's the right way to do it, because when you start doing a cover and you're trying to actually emulate some of that artist's finer points, at some point you're going to fall short if it's a guy that's as legendary as Chris Cornell. It was a little bit bothersome to me, and I didn't know if we talked about that one before.
I don't think we got a chance to. But, you know, just like our cover of Love Song.
Right. Oh, we're not trying to sound like The Cure.
No, we don't.
People that know what we're talking about and know the song we're covering don't even recognize it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but, which I think they're having his funeral tomorrow.
Well, I know, potentially. I know he's already been cremated, but yeah. But, Chris Cornell, man, that was...
It's still tough today.
Legend out of that particular... out of all of grunge.
And by the way, fuck anxiety and depression pills, man.
Right. He...
You go back and you watch, because there's video of him performing at that last gig.
Yeah.
If you're a hardcore Chris Cornell guy or seen him perform live enough, something's up.
Right.
You can tell. Just like with Scott Weiland. That
Yeah.
fucking night. It was painfully obvious. Even if you didn't know the man, you knew he was fucked up.
Look at that guy's last few performances. Scott Weiland was a little bit easier to really note that there was something up. But, the guy was on Ativan and something else, which is weird to me because I was on Ativan before.
Yeah.
I found that Scotch tempered it quite a bit, but that's not good, man.
My grandmother's on Klonopin, which is more primarily for hardcore seizures.
Oof.
And if you take more than 2 milligrams, you are induced in a coma. Which, I mean, sounds like some good shit, I gotta admit.
Well, good on you, Big Pharma.
they're
Going the
doing
healthy
great.
route, keeping Americans healthy on weird shit that let's look over the things that actually are of a benefit to humanity and mankind.
Really quick, Loudwire put out a top 30 because with Chris Cornell's death, we're kind of trumpeting the end of the grunge era.
Well, the grunge era has been dead, let's face it, since early 2000s.
They put out a top 30, which we're not going to bore you with all 30 of them. I skipped right to the top 5. Number 5, 1993's Pearl Jam Versus.
Oh, wow.
Right?
And at number 5?
At number 5.
Man, I'm a Pearl Jam guy, and that one.
I did see Vitalogy in the back there somewhere.
That one's even harder. Versus is fine. There's like three or four on there that were really commercially successful. 3
Daughter.
that were really successful. Daughter.
Rearview Mirror.
Rearview Mirror was on there.
Was
and
Elderly
Better Man.
Woman behind. Oh, Better Man. Right. I forgot I was on there.
Elderly woman behind
Elderly Woman behind the counter in a small town.
Yeah, I don't think that I think that one had some success, but yeah, mainly those other 3.
I mean, it's basically an EP, right?
5 though. No, it was a full length album.
Was it? God, I
There's
thought it was
like
just
8 or
straight
9
up EP.
tracks on it. Yeah.
Okay.
But to put that on at 5, man, I'm curious to see what they
Came in and ahead of fucking Nirvana's In Utero.
well, that's okay. I'm not a Nirvana guy.
Right. Oh, great. Now here comes a hay mail.
Yeah. Oh no. Stand by.
Stand by for hay mail.
I will absolutely mourn the death of Chris Cornell. But you start talking Kurt Cobain.
Speaking of Chris Cornell, number 4 is Soundgarden, Super Unknown.
Super Unknown. Yeah, that one belongs in the top 5.
That certainly does. I don't know what they have fucking coming up, but 4 is agreeable.
Yeah, that one deserves to be in the top 5. I'm shocked by that Pearl Jam one though. But I can't get my head around that one. But yeah, Super Unknown was. I think that was probably their best album.
Sure,
I really do.
Absolutely. It aged beautifully.
Oh yeah, no. God, we still play tracks off of here at the
Damn
house
right.
once in a while.
Number 3, Pearl Jam, 10.
Yeah. That one's the top 3. I think that one kind of really defined what grunge was for a lot of people. It opened the door for a lot of people that weren't really willing to jump onto the really early grunge.
Yeah. Well, it really kind of, because it wasn't super grungy, it had a little bit of a rock undertone to it.
Yeah, it definitely did, to allow you to kind of make that transition from being a dissatisfied rock and roll listener, which, I mean, frankly, in 1993, 92, 93, in that era.
Project 10 came out in 91.
Yeah, no, that's some bad rock going on that time.
Oh, man. Number 2. Alice in Chains, Dirt.
Dirt, yeah. That one, if that one wasn't in the top 5, I was going to have a problem. But.
Well, there were a lot of Alice in Chains albums I had to cycle through. They're in there, trust me. But, I mean, one obviously had to be up here.
Right.
So, are we going to take a pool of bets as what we think number 1 will be? I think it'll be Nevermind.
Oh, man, really?
The seed that grew everything, absolutely.
Yeah, but...
I mean, not out of personal preference. I mean, for me, fucking Alice in Chains, Dirt would be number 1.
Are we not counting Stone Temple Pilots then as a grunge act? Because if we are, I would actually say probably their first one.
Facelift came in number 8. Temple of Dog number 9. Stone Temple Pilots Purple came in number 11.
Well, gosh, and that was like, you could make the argument Purple was their most musically talented.
Mudhoney at 14.
Yeah.
Soundgarden, Loud and Love at 19. That was their first album, I think. Vitalogy at 20. Alice in Chains self-titled at 22.
Yeah.
Soundgarden Down on the Upside at 25. Core at 27.
Core, really? That was the one I was trying to
Core
think
at
of.
27. That's...
Why so much hate for that one? That was maybe...
I have no idea. Because it was probably more commercially acceptable.
I don't know. That's...
Let's... I went ahead and skipped back just to cover some of the bigger ones.
It's gonna be Nirvana then.
Oh, it's going to be Nevermind. If any Euro came at number 6 and number 1, Nirvana, Nevermind.
Yeah. And if you're not a Nirvana guy, then that's just an aggravating list.
I'm actually a bigger fan of Smells Like Nirvana by Weird Al Yankovic. Okay, I will jump to This Day in Rock or Music. Let's see, this day in 1965. Blues harmonica player, singer, and songwriter Sonny Boy Williamson died in his sleep.
As all good blues artists back in the 50s did.
Sonny Boy set his hotel on fire when trying to cook a rabbit in a coffee percolator.
What? That's well, things you can learn from blues artists. I'm not sure
if that's how he died in his sleep.
Burned down the hotel around him, trying to get some rabbit through a percolator.
That might be the funniest thing I've ever read on the podcast.
I've never thought about braising an animal that way, but
shit. Well, if you can cook ramen in it, you can cook a rabbit, right?
Yeah.
Fuck. Apologies for my laughter. It's such a rare occurrence.
Apropos.
Whew. I need to read these things before.
God, there's got to be a tale involved with that, wouldn't you think?
Well, as soon as it's fun, that we might have a whole half-hour podcast about it next week because that is a fuck of a story. I'm telling you.
First of all, I mean, how does a blues musician go about getting his hands on a rabbit? Let's just.
He's in Bayou.
Guy?
Did he have a rabbit guy? Oh my God. I'll try to take the rest of the show seriously, I promise, but that's going to be in my brain forever.
You know, not rock history, but 40 years ago today.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, Star Wars. George Lucas came out with the movie that would be
neckbeard himself.
He'll putting out what would become the first in a
what will now be
a dynasty of great movies for a moment until technology kind of came along and George figured out that he needed to go back and revamp all of his movies and thereby making most of them worse in most ways.
Yeah. I mean, let's take the guns out and replace them with walkie-talkies because, it's the 90s.
Yeah. Well, and then his thing was he wanted to start putting in then creatures that were featured later and put those in, drop them back into the original.
Yeah, like scenes he had written for the original movie but didn't have the funding to do it or just decided it wouldn't fit.
No.
And then it's all, you go from fucking puppetry and animatronics to CG.
Yeah.
Painfully obvious.
Yeah, well, and then you've got problems of changing up. If you're a diehard Star Wars fan, the whole thing of Han Solo shooting first reinforces the whole rogue, willing to go ahead and living on the kind of the outer edges of society because he kind of plays by his own rules. Well, no. Then if it turns out that Han didn't shoot first, you've basically emasculated the man and kind of removed one of the more interesting things about the character.
True.
I don't know.
Now he's dead, so
I could go on.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Not.
Well, fuck
Harrison
you.
Ford.
If you haven't seen The Force Unleashed yet, then fuck you.
I think you've had
he
plenty
dies.
of time. I think you've got plenty of time.
Let's see. Outside of that, born on this day, Tom T. Hall.
Interesting thing. They've actually got a studio named after him over South Plains College over in Loveland.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a soundstage that they actually do a lot of their live student ensemble shows from.
Robert Steinhardt of Kansas. Not born in 1950 on this day. All we are is dust in the wind.
Oh. I mean, you're either a Dust in the Wind guy or a Carry On My Wayward Son guy. I mean.
Well, I'm probably more. Actually, I'm a little bit of both. I'm a Carry On because of Guitar Hero. That was one of the first songs on the first game. And I'm a Dust in the Wind guy because of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Shit.
All we are is dust in the wind, dude.
Oscar nominated, right? Oh, wait, nope.
I think it should.
I got it confused with
it was on the write-in for a few of them.
With the English Patient, yeah.
Well, anyway, that's all I got for rock.
That's fine because we're already 20 minutes into the podcast. So, 21 minutes. We got something kind of interesting coming up. And by interesting, I mean it's absolutely the opposite. UFC likes to put on events when there's a national
I just nearly
holiday.
spit beer all over the whole microphone. And by interesting, I mean not.
The UFC, when it's a national holiday on a Monday, they like to put on a card on Sundays.
Yeah.
Which inevitably...
Oh, I love Sunday cards. Oh, man.
Inevitably screws me because, well, frankly, I don't get off most national holidays. I do on this one, however. And so I was looking forward to it. I thought, I'm going to be out living under the stars for a couple of days, doing some camping, and then I will be back and be able to get back, catch a Sunday night card because they always run well past my bedtime. That's why I can't usually enjoy them when they do like a President's Day card or whatever.
When they're in the States.
Here's the problem. They're putting it on in Stockholm.
Live from Stockholm, Sweden.
And they're not even sticking it to the Swedes the way they usually do and make them stay up till 5 or 6 in the morning because they like to try to keep it on the time scale here in the U.S. No. This one's going to be for local time in Sweden, and that means I think the cards early prelims are like 5 in the morning here.
Early prelims, Mountain Time, 5 a.m.
Oh.
Brew that coffee, get that blood flow.
Yeah, or
that might be right around the time I'm fucking going to bed. So I might stay up and watch it.
Yeah.
I'll be a wreck for my Sunday night shift, but
yeah, but that's the whole thing. I mean, by the time I'm even back, I doubt I catch anything.
True. Yeah. You might catch Gus and Teixeira fighting,
which would really be okay because Gustafsson and Teixeira are really the only two names off the card.
Outside of Chris Camozzi, I mean, I'll be the first to say I'm not an MMA nerd. I am not going to go out and learn every little detail about every fighter on there. I'd rather watch and learn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there is one on there I do recognize.
A lot of European fighters on that card, for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously.
There's a guy that's on there, big old, tall, white, lanky guy. I'm going to say his last name starts with a V. He'd actually had fought on RFA back before they had joined with Legacy and became LFA. He had a really, really big win over, what was the guy's name? Mark Hugh, I think it was. I can remember the guy that lost. That guy is like Volishnikov or something. I don't know.
Oh, another name on there that we recognize, fucking Ben Saunders on the card.
Okay. God, I didn't realize that guy's still fighting. But yeah, so, we're getting a pretty...
Velikovic?
Yeah.
Bojan?
That
Bojan. Bojan Velikovic.
I believe it's Boyum. I think it's the pronunciation.
I think it's Bojan. But
that guy. He fought at RFA and really, really shocked Hugh a lot because he took him down. Everybody's assuming this guy's just a striker. No, he came in, was able to go to half guard, got side control, started throwing bows, and that was it. Fight over.
Right.
I thought, man, I want to see if that guy ever makes it to the UFC, what he's going to bring to the table. Well, there he is, but I'll be damned if I'm up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to watch him.
Sure. And I mean, unless you're a up and coming fighter, a lot of these guys you only see when the UFC goes to Europe.
Yeah. Which, now, admittedly, UFC needs to go to Europe a little more often, but my God, the time difference, though, on some of those fights. Well, then again, I guess we just know how they feel over in the UK trying to watch UFC fights here.
Sure.
You know, and it's...
well, go fuck yourself. It was born here.
Yeah, they're up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to watch.
There are
UFC
people
events.
in Great Britain that will stay up till 1 a.m. to watch fucking WWE wrestling.
Well.
So I mean, that's just the sacrifice you make. Either that or you enjoy the fucking tape delay the next day.
Yeah, didn't realize fake fighting was big over there.
It is. You know what I mean? It's huge. It's coming back, man.
Ugh, maybe not.
I hear Andre the Giant's coming out of his grave.
Yeah, dig him up.
Come out and start
Somebody get a
fucking
shovel.
shit up. I'd like to talk about this whole Michael Bisping thing.
Okay, what's got your nuts in it?
So, Michael Bisping has a fight that was never signed, just announced.
The GSP
Bisping and
fight.
GSP.
Yeah.
We've been riding the balls of that for a while now. Being like, hey, GSP's coming back. Cool. Fighting for a belt. Cool. And then GSP ain't going to be ready till closer till the end of the year, November, I've heard.
Right.
I think. And then Dana White says, well, both of you can go fuck yourself. Plugs pulled. Yoel, well, initially it was going to be like Yoel's getting the title shot.
Yeah, as he should. As he very well should.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, out of the mist, Bisping's fucking rehabbing a knee that he's going to need some surgery on.
Which team does he train with? AKA? Because that's an AKA move, if I've ever
I don't know. I think they might have infected Europe. That's a scary thought. He's going to be sitting in a hospital bed waiting for the payday fight with GSP. Now, with GSP, you can make an argument. You can make an argument that, like, hey, this guy never lost his belt. He can come back and immediately get a title shot. He's one of those rare few that when he comes back, title shot.
Well,
Or you could make the argument that motherfucker lost a belt when he retired.
right.
And he's been gone for 4 years. When does that expire?
I don't know. Well, I do know this. Speaking of AKA, Luke Rockhold decided to take to Twitter, which is never a good idea, and call out Dana White, talking about fair is fair and all this other shit, basically trying to make the argument that he ought to be allowed to, get himself a shot, not GSP.
To his credit, he also was talking about clarity for the division.
Well,
He injected himself into it, but he was
Clarity
also talking about the whole division.
Clarity
as well.
would be nice. The problem is we know the UFC as it is now. There is not such
Oh,
a
no,
thing as
it's
clarity.
cloudy as fuck. The only thing that is clear is Demetrius Johnson, Stipe Miocic, and I didn't even throw Amanda Nunes in there.
Yeah. Well, Joanna probably, but I mean,
Definitely throw Joanna in there.
But
yeah.
I mean, but none of those people are big money makers. Here's the problem: when they bought, when
WME bottom.
yeah, when they bought it out, $4 billion. They got to figure out a way to recover that. They could give a damn about who deserves what fight. They're trying to make some money, and in the process, hurting themselves because they're letting some fighters go that are top notch.
Sure.
They don't put asses in seats. Gegard Mousasi, probably one of the most complete fighters at welterweight, and he probably might be going to Bellator.
Yeah. Roy McDonald, huge fan. I mean, after that Robbie Lawler fight, those two guys were the biggest names in that company for a small amount of time.
Right.
They put on one of the greatest fights I've ever seen.
Sure.
One of the greatest pugilistic fucking battles. And then Rory comes back, has that one fight. I can't remember who he fought. Oh, shit. But anyway, but he didn't look like the same Rory that went through the war. Of course not. You have one of those in you. You have one fight where you can just put it all on the line and you either win or you lose.
Yeah, the guy came away looking like Voldemort.
And fucking Lawler came out having a fucking vajayjay on the left side of his face.
Right.
That lip was split all the way up to his nose almost.
Sure.
And now he's in Bellator, and the dude is going to slay. It's not going to be pretty.
Well, and that's the whole thing. He said it was about respect. He took the money and went to Bellator. Here's the problem for Rory McDonald. I don't give a damn if you've got a belt in Bellator. You know in the back of your mind that's not the top organization in the world.
No, it's not. You might be getting paid
moment,
better.
At the moment, because if the UFC keeps making decisions the way they have, who knows what's going to happen.
Right. And, I mean, that's really the big benefit of going to Bellator. And it costs Bellator nothing out of pocket. It's just like, look, we're giving you the freedom to make your own money.
Yeah, that Reebok deal, we're starting to see it. I think it's kind of handcuffing the UFC a little bit. And how long was that deal? Is that a 5-year deal or was it 2?
I'm going to check it out.
Because if it's 2, then it's getting ready to expire soon. But I don't think it is. I think it was a 5-year deal. Because, but it did. It took it out of the fighters' hands of being able to go out, find their own sponsors, for their gear. And you've got, God, who's that one dummy? Brendan Schaub saying that he was making 6 digits off his endorsements, off of his, of things that he was wearing during the walkout. I can't call him a liar, but Dana White basically did by saying, he said 100,000. I don't know. I don't think it was that high. But yeah, you're basically taking money out of the fighters' pockets, so that way the organization can make money, and that's not the right way to go. And that's why they're losing some big names. Now, UFC lost Benson Henderson. Not a big loss. That guy, he was past his prime before he left the UFC.
Well,
but they are getting a Rory McDonald in his prime, and they're looking at maybe getting a Gegard Mousasi in his prime.
Sure. And Benson's one of those fighters just got changed after a big loss.
Yeah.
A huge loss.
Right. That was title Pettis, yeah.
It was a 6-year deal.
6. So that means we're only 1/3 of the way through until that deal is done.
Yeah.
I don't know that the UFC has got 4 years of this Reebok deal.
By the time that deal is over, how's that roster going to look?
I don't know. I think the problem then becomes, and think of all the overhead. The UFC has got more overhead than Bellator by 5 times, easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, man.
I think it's going to be a tough road to hoe, as they would say around here, for the UFC in the coming years.
Just saw something very interesting on SureDog. New York State Athletic Commission updates weigh-in policy following Daniel Cormier towel incident at UFC 210.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of Cormier, but you can't dispute the fact that man.
When it's a matter of just a pound,
yeah,
you can displace that pretty easily if you have something to brace on.
Yeah, absolutely, like a towel.
Exactly. Let's see. Now, when on the scale, the combatant shall stand still with his or her feet flat upon the scale and shall not make physical contact with any person or object other than the scale.
Yeah.
No other person shall touch the scale when the combatant is in the act of weighing in. While on the scale, the combatant shall follow any direction issued by the commission.
Well, and I know way back in April we talked about the weigh-ins, because the problem is if you don't let him do that, he's not going to make the weight. That fight's off.
Sure.
So it's a matter of, do you want to have the fight? Do you not want to have the fight? And knowing what we know now, God, it would have been better not to have the fight.
Yeah.
Rumble pretty much folding up like a cheap suit.
Man, you heard what his other job's going to be, right?
Yeah, he's going to be like some kind of co-owner and some kind of cooperative growing weed, right?
Well, that wacky weed, that devil shit.
Yeah, the moon cabbage.
Which, hey, when I heard that, everybody else is thinking that shit's hilarious. I'm like, you know what? If you can make the same amount of money just growing weed and selling it, I agree with him.
Well,
that's easier on the dome. But I just think, fucking crapping out that at that high point, the highest point of your career. Because you would have thought the first fight was, fuck that. The second fight was going to be. Because he did the first fight, lost, and then beat people's asses inexplicably to get another shot. Got that shot and threw it in the garbage.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, can't go trying to wrestle with an Olympian like Daniel Cormier. As much as I dislike him, that guy, that's the last thing you want to do with him. Unless your name is John Jones.
Right, no, absolutely. And I know we normally do picks. This card is hard to pick because there's really not a whole lot of fucking people on here that jump out at me. Ben Saunders and Peter Sabata. I'm going Saunders.
I've heard of Saunders. I'll go with that.
Exactly. The main event. Alexander Gustafsson, number 1 ranked light heavyweight in the world, taking on Glover Teixeira, number 2
Those are two
ranked
people
light heavyweight in the
that
world.
Rumble Johnson destroyed back when he was a fighter.
Oh, well, now these guys' fucking careers are revitalized because now they know they don't have to fight him again.
Yeah. I like Gustafsson. He doesn't have to worry about wrestling with Teixeira. So
No, it's going to be a straight-up striking battle, which he could.
I like Gustafsson in that fight.
I think he's going to exploit it. Exploit some holes in fucking Glover's game.
Yeah.
because Gus is not a bad. He's a great fighter. He's the only guy that took John Jones to task. Whether or not John Jones didn't prepare right or not, that's on him. That ain't on Gus.
Right.
This could be a title eliminator. Like, winner gets the winner of Cormier and Jones if that fight fucking happens.
Maybe. Yeah, well, because right now, they're numbers 1 and 2. But as soon as John Jones is reinstated,
well, I mean, that fight's already announced. We know Jones and Cormier is happening.
Everybody take a
Whether
step
or not
back.
Jones wins that fight depends on where he'll land in that rank. If he wins, he's champ. He's on top of the fucking food chain. If he loses, that motherfucker might have double digits next to his name.
No, I doubt that. I don't.
Depends on how he loses. If Cormier comes in and schools him,
I don't think the light heavyweight division is deep enough for you to put John Jones, even with a significant loss. I don't think.
Well, we're aware that the rankings are bullshit too.
Right. Oh yeah,
obviously. In this day and age, the rankings are they were bullshit before. They're super bullshit now.
Sure.
But I could see. I'd love to see Jones fucking win the title, get it all, and have Cormier just go do fucking color commentary. Be fine. And then have John Jones and Gus, if Gus wins this fight.
That'd be a good rematch.
Get a rematch. It'd be a hell of a rematch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. It'd be really interesting to see what happens with that. You know, when they had their little media day, their little media scrum before 211,
Yeah.
Cormier was giving John Jones a lot of shit about missing fights. Now, obviously, he has. You can't just go running into pregnant women, run away from the scene, run back, grab your dope and your money, and run away.
He's missed fights due to the law.
You know, I mean, you can't miss fights because of that or whatever the case might be. Cormier doesn't have a lot of room to talk. He came up with one of those classic AKA injuries.
Yeah. If we had gotten the Rumble fight last year, that might have been a different dude.
Right.
It probably would have been a different dude.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think so. I think the fire wasn't in his belly anymore.
No.
You know, once you realize that, you were a changed man.
I wonder if his piss test came back for weed, but they didn't give a shit because he retired.
I don't know. I really don't know. Man, I'll tell you what, we're going to need to wrap things up here.
Totally.
We're going to be back next Thursday. We'll do another little recap of all the things going on, fun with Mead and with Metal and MMA. In the meantime...
Mead, I'm picking batch 1 because it's all we have left. Metal, I'm picking a fucking new doom metal breakout artist, Puta Volcano.
Never heard of him.
I'll introduce you to him after this show is over. And MMA, well, I'm fucking picking Gustafsson by finish, probably in the 3rd round. Knockout.
Yeah. Those are all good picks. That's the second one. I have no idea what the fuck you're even talking about. I'd go with Super Unknown just because, it should have been number 1 on the list, but, there is no respect on Livewire. So that's what we have there for this week on our Mead, Metal, and MMA podcast. Appreciate you giving us 38 minutes, yo day. And we will see you again next week.
Enjoy the shitty time fights, friends.
Enjoy.